Hello, everyone, and welcome back to a brand new season of racing at rrleagues.com. And it's not just any new season, it's the seventh iteration of our GT3 Masters series, and everything is prepared for it to be an epic adventure. Every iteration of this series has built upon the next, and as always, even before this season has started, some great effort and commitment has been displayed by the staff on one side, but especially as well by the drivers and teams that have signed up for this series. Preparations for this GT3 Masters pretty much started last year, just after the previous season had ended. We organized a season review live stream and invited all the drivers in for an open discussion on the series, a review on the different races and the community as a whole. And from this, we took some valuable lessons, tried to apply what we deemed necessary for the series to improve even further. And then the work started: timing, track selection, sponsors, promotions, race formats, weather variability, etc. And with all the slots for this series taking long before the season start, there was also a great effort by the teams and drivers to take part in, for example, livery launch week, creating their own liveries, and the build-up to the opening round at Valencia in the series chat and on the practice server, with many laps driven around Valencia so far. And finally, here it is, GT3 Master VII coming up. 8 challenges for our 40 drivers, 19 teams, several prizes and championships to compete for. And talking about prizes, this series is sponsored by Dutch sim racing hardware company Trek, who have kindly offered a total price of €250 in purchase vouchers in their shop. And next to that, the community staff or admins are also offering 2 tickets to a GT World Challenge race of choice to one of the competing teams. So that's a 2-man prize, let's say. And it's important to know that none of these prizes will actually be given to the top performers, but rather to those who show real commitment to the series through participation. As a reference for this whole series, our own media man Ruud Dennis has produced a full-on program guide on this series, which contains all of the information you can think of, and I'm using some of his images included in that booklet in this presentation as well, and it can be found on our website, rrleagues.com, as always. Now let's have a closer look at the calendar for this series. We have 8 rounds prepared for the drivers, and we will start the season at the newest ACC track around Valencia. This will be a normal, dryish weather race. It's important to know that almost all the races will have some kind of variability in weather, but this race will probably be a bone dry race to get the season started and get that adrenaline pumping. Then we move on to Suzuka, which has a bit of a higher chance of rain. Also a evening qualifying session and a 2-hour race for that one. So already a different kind of challenge in Asia, with at the moment Amadeo de Keizer getting the lap record in race for that with a 1:59.8. Let's see with the new physics how lap times will compare. Then the third round we will go to Monza, and that will be a special format. We will introduce the sprint race weekend, where we will have 2 qualifying sessions and 2 races, one of 30 minutes, one of 60 minutes. Also there is some weather variability in play, so a different format, a different challenge for the drivers, and that's what we really are looking for. We're throwing all kinds of challenges to our GT3 Masters drivers: short races, longer races, weather, etc., shorter qualifying sessions. So a different kind of beast. And also Monza has so far not featured on the GT3 Masters series in ACC at our R League, so that's a new challenge as well. Then on to Bathurst, staple of this series. It always comes back. Evening qualifying and a midday race, and bright, sunny, warm conditions. Always a challenge for the drivers and their tires. Also a 2-hour race around Mount Panorama. So another challenge thrown to the drivers. Then on to Hungaroring, where we can expect a little bit of rain. And David Dore with the Bentley Continental holding the lap record there. This will be a 90-minute race and plenty of challenging corners ahead there if it does rain in this race. Then on to Spa, also a returning guest on our calendar. This will feature a 2.4-hour race, so the longest race of this calendar. Longest race so far in a GT3 Master Series. We will have an evening qualifying and also an evening race, so into the dusk we will drive. Weather variability is a factor as well, so really one of the rounds to look out for. Then round 7, Brands Hatch, will feature a 90-minute race with some rather cloudy conditions, so also some chance of rain always present, and special track to drive around with 40 odd cars, so that will be a challenge in and of itself. And then the final round will be at the Nürburgring, another 2-hour race with some weather and a Sunday afternoon race to finish up this season. So 8 tracks, 8 challenges for the drivers, as I have said. And I think this calendar in the end will produce the overall GT3 Master, the one that can or has overcome all those challenges, has found the best way to conquer all of those tracks and conditions, and of course the opponents. And so now that we know which tracks the teams and drivers are up against, let's get to know all of the competitors, and what better way to do so than using Livery Launch Week as our guide. Livery Launch Week is something that the RRL staff took from Formula One, where we have the team launches in early February, and it seems there are not too many sim racing communities that we know of that also are doing this, but it's a great way to build some anticipation and get to know each other a little bit better before the season even starts. And therefore, it was great to see a whopping 16 teams of the 19 taking part in this presentation. And everything started on August 14th with the presentation of Boyd Transport Racing, a completely new team to RRL, and it's actually a 3-driver team, so actually 2 teams. We have Boyd Transport Racing Red, which will be driving the Mercedes AMG GT3 with Murdo McLeod and Harvey Shepard. And then we have the Boyd Transport Racing Blue team, which is a one-man team with Hallam Voice, joining them as a solo team entry. And their livery is inspired by Mika Häkkinen. Naturally, it had to be on the Mercedes. Then came the presentation of Intense Racing, 5 championships in total, and winning 3 out of the 4 last ACC series as a team. It's needless to say that the team's championship is a really big ambition for Cliff Bulke and David Dore. The team had some options regarding the car choice, but in the end, they went the Porsche. Time will tell if they made the right decision. Cliff Bulke is the GT3 Masters 5 champion, and David Dore, experienced and long-time member of the league, and also very consistent runner, so a team to watch for sure. And then another new team, Happy Feet Racing. I'll call them HFR in the future for short. And we have Sven de Wulf and Frank Kojak, who have joined us actually in recent times from ACC Vlaanderen in our recent series. And not many years of experience, but they were winning the AM Cup in season 63 in the Lamborghini, which we hosted a couple of months ago. So they are here to get some GT3 running in. And the team name, Happy Feet Racing, is linked to some fancy footwork. And any comparison to a certain animation film is purely incidental and absolutely not to add any of the animation characters to the livery. So also a very nice entry onto the field. They will be driving the McLaren 720S GT3 Evo. Then a new team as well, Finger Racing, Finger Racing, the name referring to maybe Mattia Binotto's finger waving at Leclerc, or just Finger from Finland and Germany. No one will know. It's Florian Kutz and Tommi Kosunen. They're a new pairing on the grid, but the drivers have some history at RRL in the past, that's for sure. They will be driving the new Ferrari, and they have made a very special and creative livery. Then on to 77, Ralph Arella and Simon Fillingham. Ralph Arella is RRL's most recent champion after being crowned driver champion in the Super Trofeo Cup. And that gets him to a total tally of 9 drivers' title, making him the most successful driver at RRL. He's considered as a very clean driver. He has run 388 races and has DNF'd a whopping total of 3 outings. So consistency is key there. And he's paired with Cy Fillingham, one of our admins. And they have been racing together for many seasons already. Cy having more than 550 races under his belt. There is a lot of experience and pace in that team as well. And they will be driving also the Mercedes AMG GT3. They have created a 2-tone color scheme with 2 unique and easily identifiable liveries, for which I'm very grateful. And it's a nod to concept design of 77 in the past. Then we had Useless Racers joining us from gaming community Useless Gamers. And they are Rob Taplin and Paul Heron. They have been racing together for almost 20 years with a combined racing game experience of 72 years. They will be driving the new Lamborghini together. But there is more, because just as Boyd Transport Racing, they have a satellite privateer team with them, with driver Stefan Vierloos, who is much newer to our little niche, but ready to go for it as well. And then we have the first of the very confusing team names for me in the commentary box. It's Nigel Wood and Dirk Weicht, and they are the W&W Racing Team drivers coming together for the first time. Nigel Wood, a RRL regular, and Dirk Weicht, quite new, having driven the 2.4 hours of the Glen, but they will be driving the McLaren 720S GT3 Evo. Then it's on to Red Bull Road Runners Manu Hoedemakers and Simon Verzeil. They have some ACC experience, also coming to us from ACC Vlaanderen, and it will be their first team championship at RRL. Therefore, both very excited to race against a group of really fast drivers. They wanted to change a car for this championship, and they ended up loving the Ferrari 296, as many have. So looking forward to many battles in the future. Then R2E is another one of our teams with Marvin and Sven Meckenberg, twin brothers. And this team was initially planned as a 4-car effort, but a major sponsor pulled out, and financial stability was secured at the very final stage. They started to prepare for the season. Marvin had debuted in last year's Masters and has stayed at RRL ever since, winning also a title in our last Race Room Racing Experience series, the Mazda MX-5, and now he wants to show everybody that he can perform on the big stage at the Masters. Sven also raced in the Mazda MX-5 Cup, showed some promising but inconsistent results, and so this team is one to watch out for. They will be running the Lamborghini Huracan Evo 2. And then it's on to Grizzly Racing with Max Beyer and Ruud Dennis, 2 RRL regulars already. And Max Beyer, most notably last year, driving the Nissan GTR, and their livery launch, as you can see on the background, almost led us to believe they would go for it again. Max Beyer did great in the Drivers' Championship last year and had some really, really good podium results. But in the end, they went for the Lamborghini in this season. Then a dynamic and ambitious new addition to the world of motorsport, Hannah Song and James Mead come together as Alpha Shazoo Racing, and they're also running the Lamborghini. A team to watch, Hannah Song, new to RRL, James Mead, one of the podium contenders from last Masters, so really a team to watch and also a great introduction to their team's livery, that's for sure. Yves Van Sande and Alessandro Penny then combined forces to form VSP Racing. Both drivers have driven at RRL before, but it's their first series together. Yves Van Sande taking part in the last Master, and they are taking what I think is the one and only Aston Martin V8 in this series. Previously, they have driven the BMW M4, but they decided to change brands for this season. Yves noted very well for lots of practice on the server, so we'll see if he can get a better start to his season than last year at Coda, where he got held up quite a bit in the first lap shenanigans. And then it's WR Team, not to be confused with WNW Team, which we already saw. But this team is Kevin Rowlands and Patrick Wust. Kevin and Patrick raced for quite some time on LFM as teammates, and they're both very excited to race against this group of really fast and committed drivers. So yes, they kept to their beloved M4, the BMW, only because of its sound, but it's actually a great car to drive, and they are actually then now representing WRT team, who are driving the BMW M4 in real life, and later on in this presentation we'll see what other teams are going for that name to confuse me even more. But first we move on to Pantera Blue, Nemanja Manojlovic, Damien de Grasse, two very well-known names to the RRL community. Very good results split between the two, so a nice driver pairing for sure. Damien de Grasse, if I'm not mistaken, at the moment topping the timing sheets for round 1 at Valencia, so that is looking very promising. And Nemanja most recently having a look at getting a rig, so they are really growing as a team. Also a very unique livery for that team, so we'll see where they end up in December. Then it's a staple of RRL, it's Paradigm Shift with Jack Camaletto and Radek Pavlacek, already their third season together if I'm not mistaken, and a great introduction video to their livery as well. They are running the Ferrari 296 with a yellow and pink livery, which will give the car its unique style and will demand attention from the broadcast team, which is myself. And then the last team to enter in livery launch week is always the current team's champions, which is Team WRT, and this lineup remains unchanged. Bram de Pretre, driver champion of last Masters, and Amadeo de Keizer. They will be driving together, not in the BMW M4, so they are Team WRT, but not running in the M4s. They were very lucky that Aka ASP Racing was selling 2 of their Mercedes-AMG GT3s, so they will be driving that car, but that will mean they will have to go for it and prove the team bosses wrong in real life. So really a team to watch. They showed some great signs of brilliance, took the team's championship away, and we'll have to see if Amadeo de Keizer can challenge his teammate for those top spots as well, which he did last season, but Bram came out on top in terms of the Drivers' Championship. That's it for all the teams that had competed in livery launch week, but of course there's a couple of more teams. Let's go and have a look. We have one team who did not take part in livery launch week, which is Pannonia Racing Team. Peter Abelovsky and Robert Horvat already driving around in our group of friends in the meantime. Many years, both Hungarians, and they are teaming up as Pannonia Racing Team, also a well-known name so far, and they will be driving the Ferrari 296 as well. And that's all the teams that will be competing in this series. Then we have a couple of solo entries, which is Olivier Kouwenberg. He will be driving the Ferrari 296. We have Tom de Munk also driving the Ferrari, so 2 Belgians. And then Sven Hecke, the German, will be driving the BMW M4, and Martin Hughes also in the M4. As you can see, Stefan Virlos and Hallam Voice are listed there as solo entries, but they are actually part of the satellite teams that we mentioned before. Those are all the competitors for this series. We had a look at the calendar, at all the cars, all the drivers, all the teams. So there's nothing else to hold us back from getting started with the season. And that's what we will do. We will get back to you in the next few days with a race recap video of round 1. There will unfortunately be no live stream, but then in 2 weeks after Valencia, we will be streaming live for round 2 of this GT3 Masters Edition 7. And we're all very hyped for that, all the drivers, all the staff members, and myself included, as I will be broadcasting and bringing the action to you live. If you have any questions, suggestions about the racing community, the broadcast, etc., feel free to get in contact with us. You can find us anywhere by typing in RR Leagues, so Discord, Instagram, Facebook, website, etc. Make sure to find us. Discord is our main communication channel, so that is where you will find all the information about this series, and who knows, maybe you can jump in this series as a guest driver in one of the coming rounds. It was a pleasure to present you this new series by RR Leagues. A lot of work has gone into it, and so now it's all up to the drivers to make the best show out of it possible, and we as viewers will have to have a look and see if they make their promises true. I'm Miguel Santiago Carou, and we'll see you very soon with some real racing action from rrleagues.com.